Welcome to Shotgun Story, the podcast that has conversations with indie creators about music, meaning, and the point of it all, so that you may be inspired by the journeys of other artists who are doing it for themselves, and maybe gain a little more understanding as to why it matters quite so much that you keep creating. Steve East, aka Mayor of Benoni, is a jack of all trades, a master of all of them, a musician, a booking agent, a designer, music video director, a radio voice, vocalist from the alt country band Crystal Park, founder of Rockford Media. I've known him so long that I don't even remember how we met, but he is in studio. Hi, Steve.
Hello. Hi, that got me thinking now as well. I don't know where we met.
No, me neither. We're on the scene, I suppose. Inevitable, either way. Why music? What drew you here?
I've always been on stage. I think I like being on stage, and music is obviously a big part of that. But since I was a kid, I remember my primary school teacher got me onto stage. You know, I think I was standard 1 or 2 or something, grade 3, whatever that is. Yeah, she told me to audition for this play, and then I did that and got the lead, and I was like, this is pretty rad. I can keep doing this. Mm-hmm. And then music obviously followed suit, joined bands in high school and that kind of thing. And like the high school band that played at athletics,
Really?
Playing like the hokey pokey kind of thing.
So were you playing bass at the time?
No, guitar. I started out playing guitar, just acoustic guitar. And then bass came when I joined another band. There's a singer in the 90s called Selling Silence. Mm. And then they merged into this other band called KT Marvelous. And we did quite well, in terms of being a 7-piece punk, grunge, disco band. And that's when I started playing bass. For some reason, the guys in the band said, you can play bass, it's not hard. Mm-hmm. And then I started playing bass. And then from there, just started playing with various different projects and people until eventually Crystal Park, and now the Honeymooners, obviously with Jolene, my wife.
Did you further your studies as a musician, or has it just been experience?
Yeah, it's all experience and self-taught stuff. I don't really still qualify myself as a musician. I like to say I'm a showman. I think I'm very good at getting away with things, pulling the wool over people's eyes. I don't know scales. I don't know anything of that kind of nature, but I can muck around. I like writing songs. I consider myself a better songwriter than anything else.
Yeah.
Try and do whatever it takes to get those songs made,
If you were to look at your career as a timeline, what 3 to 5 highlights would give context to a listener who has no idea who Steve East is?
I guess there's probably 3 weird kind of highlights, and one of them doesn't really make sense, but I was chosen to be a radio DJ on RAW radio back when I was studying there, before it became UJ. And I'd always wanted to be on radio. Like I said, I've always been on stage, and I did a lot of public speaking in school and won awards and trophies and those kind of things through that. And a lot of people had told me that I should be on radio. So I wanted to follow that. And when I was chosen to be on RAW radio, it was very exciting, and it was a highlight for me because I was like, oh, wow, people actually recognize that I can do this. Yeah. But I never followed through with it because I got a bit scared. So I dropped out.
You got a bit scared?
Yeah. I was scared off, I should say, by, don't want to say who it was, but like a DJ at the time who was on RAW. They had told me, some inside stories about how the radio business works and the kind of like almost boys club that it was, and how very corporate it was, and all of that kind of thing. And that kind of scared me off, and I didn't want to get involved in that, and I didn't want it to ruin my love of whatever radio was in my head. Through that, I started getting into trying to do voiceovers, and that's kind of sparked a lot of influence on that side of things for me over the years. And it's still something that I'm very passionate about, and still something that I want to do a lot more of. Yeah. Which is why I use that as a highlight, because even though I got scared of going into radio per se, it did inspire me into doing a lot of other things.
Absolutely.
So that's one, and then probably, music-wise is the festivals that I've played. I think like being able to play 3 Oppie with the same band is great. Like I really love that. I don't think there's many people that can say that they've done that. So I'm very proud of that. And then directing music videos I like to do. I'm quite passionate about that, even though, again, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
Yeah.
I just kind of make it up. I did study audiovisual communication. That was my degree, but, that was 2003. So none of that applies these days really anymore. I've done a couple of cool things. The Wonderboom music video, which I directed and co-directed with Sito from Wonderboom, and then had a lot of help from my friend Mark, who's my business partner in Rockford Media. And he lives in the UK now. But, that was quite exciting to be able to do something. I've always loved Wonderboom since they started in the 90s. And, it was kind of a cool passion project to be able to do.
So nice. Yeah. And it's so nice to play on the same stages, actually, now these days with these festivals.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's weird when you hear people saying, I've played on the same stage as this band and that band. And I don't really think about it that way, you know, but I suppose that might be because I don't think of myself as a musician. I'm just like a guy in a band and, I do stuff.
It's so interesting that you say that, because I remember before I started doing music professionally and listening to like Josie Field on the radio.
Yeah.
I was such a big fan. And then I started making music, and then at some point we became friends and have played together on a stage. And it's like those people that you really look up to one day are your peers. And there's something really milestone-ish about that.
Yeah, there definitely is. And again, I think that's something that I struggle to think about, because when you look at somebody like Sito as the most beautiful human being in the world, like the most amazing voice and like rock and roll star throughout the ages.
Yeah.
You still get a bit like when he like walks in the room, but then, you're kind of just mates at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I do this silly little YouTube series called BFF for a Day. And we did an episode together as one of the episodes, and it was quite fun, just kind of hanging out and cycling around Benoni Country Club, having a couple of beers,
I mean, I remember you spoke to me about that. Except I'm such a terrible tennis player that I knew I was just going to... I was just going to embarrass myself.
Yeah, well, if I ended up doing the tennis episode with Tashius, the bassist from Jackhammer.
Yeah.
And he's a very good tennis player, as it turns out. Which I knew that he did play tennis, but I didn't think he was as like serious about it as he was. So it's quite funny. We took the mickey out of that on the episode itself and the way that we edited it out. So it makes me look a lot worse than, I did play tennis when I was younger, so I consider myself okay, but definitely out of practice. But it was quite fun. That's kind of the point of it, is just to have a knock around and have some fun. It's more just thinking of an activity that starts with your name, T. So it's like, what else can we do if it's not tennis? But we'll think of something. We'll come up with another idea.
I'll think of something.
Yeah.
I'll send you a message about that.
Yeah.
Something I'm less bad at.
Yeah.
Okay. What is your ultimate why? What drives you to keep making? Because none of us are under any illusion that anybody's making a real good living from entertainment and the arts. What makes you keep coming back to it?
I love it. I'm very, very passionate about it. And like I say, I think I'm good at certain things that I like to exploit as much as possible. In terms of making a living out of anything in the world, it doesn't matter what profession it is, I'm sure it's just as difficult. I've always said that the ceiling in South Africa, especially for maybe even my style of music, it's quite low. You can hit a level of success quite easily, and it's not to say that you'll make enough to buy your own house necessarily, but you can certainly rent a one bedroom, and live a comfortable bachelor life if you wanted. Or marry a fellow musician and start a band together, and then you've got more money. But you know what I mean? Like, I think the ceiling is quite low, and you can ride that ceiling for quite a long time.
Yeah.
Something that Andre Creel from Black Cat Bones said to me years and years ago, if we keep playing roots music, so blues, country.
Yeah.
If you do that for 30, 40 years in South Africa, by the time we're 60, 70 and we're still playing, we'll be the living legends of that world, as opposed to, say, like a punk muso or, somebody playing metal. Yeah. It would be a bit weird if you're like 65, 70, like still thrashing out in an underground club with like long hair and a metal shirt. It would be weird, So that's also been an inspiration for me, just going like, yeah, man, this is what I'm good at. Writing country music or alternative or Americana or whatever you want to call it, I never thought about until Crystal Park started and started exploring that side of things and found out I was really good at it. And like, singing, I slightly changed the style of my voice of singing and I found a new voice inside me.
Yeah.
A lot of people, said to me who'd known me sing since my 90s bands.
Yeah.
And said, we've never heard you sing like that. Like you found your voice almost, you know. And then that's like, okay, well, I should keep doing this then, I think,
Absolutely.
And I haven't even done that much. So there's just so much more to do. I've got so many projects across all of these things that we're talking about, when it comes to radio or directing or video or music, all of that. There's so many things that I still want to achieve,
Yeah. I mean, when you speak of living legends, it's so interesting because as a woman, the industry generally feels like a boys' club.
Sure.
And there are not many women who are doing it later in life, who keep doing it. And I wonder, Sia and I were talking about how ageist South Africa is, but particularly towards women. I mean, it's a different thing for men. I mean, from being a man in the industry, do you ever think about that?
Yeah, I suppose I definitely do. One of the reasons why is I did quite a lot of work with booking Cortina Whiplash as a band back in the day.
Yeah.
And they were quite vocal about a lot of things which I loved in terms of like lineups and placement of them on the lineup at certain times and other bands, which I won't mention, which they wouldn't necessarily want to be on a lineup with.
Yeah.
And that got me opened my eyes a lot more around that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
And I definitely agree with you what you're saying about in terms of it being more of a boys' club. But, it's so exciting every time you see more and more female musicians and, living legends. There's obviously a ton of them. And like you say, you don't think of them because it probably is a bit sexist. If you look at like Oppie Koppie's Legend Awards that they gave out, how many of them have gone to female? I don't think any. Obviously, they got maybe cut short a bit by doing that. And this is not a rip on them or anything like that. But there's certainly many that they could go. Cindy Alter as an example, just somebody who's just feels like she's just been there forever, like Bob Dylan. Just like, what?
Yeah.
She was around then? Like, no way. Like, it's impossible. And she's still there, still like creating, still making, it's amazing,
It is amazing. And she's amazing. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I played a show. She invited me to play one of those songwriters lineups. And she did a few songs in between.
Okay.
And it's like when you see someone who is so exactly where they're meant to be and you can feel it. She is so skilled at what she does.
But that's exactly what we're talking about, is that she knows what she's good at and that's it. And she'll take it forward, you know, and keep going. And when you hear her, it's her. If you played a song by her, you go, yep, that's her singing. If you play Claire Johnson, it's her.
Yeah.
If you play Wendy Oldfield, yep, that's Wendy,
Yeah.
And still going after all these years and pushing through. And when you start thinking about, how much money is there and making a living out of that, surely that's going to be very difficult, and it's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
But the beauty of the art and the passion that's still there, which is great to see after so many decades,
Totally.
And I want that for myself, and I want that for you, and I want that for Josie and Laurie and Jolene and Black and Bones and everybody. I want us all to be 60, 70, still playing and still just jamming and going at it, and probably still moaning we don't get paid enough. And
What is your songwriting process like?
I dream them up and then write them in the morning. I wrote a song in my dreams the other night again, and this is like the second time it's happened.
Yeah.
Probably someone else's song, but we'll figure that out later. It's just kind of, I don't know, inspiration comes somewhere, like a melody line will hit my head. Either a melody line or a lyrical hook will come to me, and then I'll make a note of it on my phone, kind of hum it through the recorder, or actually write the lyric down if it's a lyric. Or it might be an idea for a story in a song. Most of my songs, I like to tell stories. So it might be an idea for a story that I want to turn into a song. Yeah, and I'll write that down, and then when I get a chance, go home and put something down on the guitar, and then take it to the band. And then Fred turns it into like a symphonic composition, basically.
I know. He's a genius.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really it. And, with Crystal Park specifically, we're quite good at, somebody bringing a song to the band and then listening to it and going, okay, well, I think we can work with that, or kind of almost immediately going, nah, it doesn't work, keep it for something else. And I think I've got quite a lot of songs that haven't worked in the past, or maybe haven't even been completed, but they're still there, Get round to them and use them for something else. I don't qualify myself as a musician. I think I'm a good storyteller and songwriter, and, that's a good enough start.
What are some of the challenges that you see musicians today facing?
Well, I think the whole thing's a bloody challenge, isn't it? I don't know if it's any different. With new possibilities come new challenges. I was thinking on the way here about how little bands stream live. Like over the last year, having that platform as Honeymooners, we've done a few live streams, and Crystal Park's done none. And I was thinking about that and going, there's lots, like majority of bands haven't, or artists or singers or whatever, haven't done. And there's like a couple of guys who've been really good and really religiously streaming all the time. Robin Auld and Albert Frost, they've been going at it as much as possible. And I was wondering about that and going like, well, obviously that's the challenge there, is that maybe a lot of people just don't have the internet speed at home that's required to make it look good enough. We've moved to a new place now where we don't have any fiber or anything. It's a LTE internet, so the signal's just not great, especially for uploading something like that. So that makes it quite a challenge, but the possibility of obviously doing live streams opens up a whole nother world of things, So the challenges are just, it never ends. But like I say, I always think about that ceiling again, and I go, if you just keep doing what you're doing and you're honest and passionate about what you're doing, then you'll hit that ceiling quite soonish, and you can ride the wave, man, The music industry, if you want to call it that, it's a challenge all round. There's so much involved in it that we don't even know. As artists, majority of us, 99% of us, will never get involved in the business side of music. Never know anything about rights and royalties and radio play and how do you get your song into a movie soundtrack and all of that kind of crap. And that's like a whole different world as opposed to just writing a song and even recording it.
Did you even know that Sampra administers needle time?
Yeah, do they?
Yeah.
Oh, well, they're supposed to.
So, that as a musician, you should be registering the songs that are released there, and every artist who plays on it, if there is radio play.
Yeah.
Apparently, I've only just realized all this stuff myself.
Yeah.
And I've been doing this for over a decade.
Yeah.
So it's like nobody's upfront about this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But there are people like Tune, Archie McKinnon's project, that are doing some really rad things to educate musicians on those kind of things these days. Yeah,
that's the thing. The needle time thing, I think, is quite new here in South Africa. It was a new law that was only passed a couple of years ago, as far as I know.
No, I think it's been around forever.
Forever?
Forever.
It's always it's so complicated. That's the thing. And having all these different organizations, we don't, like I say, again, majority of the musos don't know that side of things.
No.
And that's okay it's not okay, but that shouldn't be seen as something to put anybody off music, to go like, oh, well, I'm not going to even bother.
Yeah, no, totally.
Because, that should be left up to people who know what they're doing. And sure, that can cost money sometimes, but, it's not hard to, I don't think, to factor in those kind of expenses into running a band and going, play a gig, we get X amount of money, keep some of it as a band, as a company, as it were, and use that money for expenses, if it's paying a PR company or if it's paying Tune or whoever to help us with all of that kind of stuff, And
do you know, Tune is a free educational thing.
Okay.
But what is interesting, as you talk about it, it would be actually a nice little business for someone who is interested in doing that stuff, to work with the grassroots bands.
Sure.
To do a little bit here and a little bit there, and to do that sort of admin.
Yeah. I think it's a special kind of skill at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Many band managers and that kind of thing they're not musos. It's a different kind of skill. It's something that I'm definitely not passionate about, but, I try my best to do what I can.
Yeah.
it's just so involved and it's quite time consuming. But, with Jolene's new EP that's coming out, like, that's something that we want to explore a lot more. And with Just Music being on board in terms of releasing it through the streaming platforms, that helps one side of things so much.
Yeah.
But like I say, I mean, that's a whole different flipping kettle of fish, man. Like, I don't even have my head around it.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I'm a SAMRO member. I remember like applying back in the day. I don't know whatever happened.
Oh,
I should follow that up.
You definitely should follow that up.
Yeah, useless.
Do you register your songs with SAMRO every time?
We did in the beginning when Glenn was still part of the band with Crystal Park. He did, I think, I don't know. Don't even remember. It's bad.
No, you must do that. You must register as you do it. And you know what's so great? They've got an online portal.
Yeah.
Which means you've just got to get your double check the membership thing.
Yeah.
And if it's not, hurry it up, because I mean, in bands you've been in, you've had some radio play, definitely.
Yeah.
And after a certain number of years, it's like 2 or 3 years, I think, of having some kind of radio play or active movement on the scene, you should definitely be a member.
Yeah.
So you must check that, because also another thing someone had mentioned is that every time you play a show,
yeah,
you should submit that also via the online portal.
Yeah.
All the songs that you sung.
Yeah.
And it's something like R1 per song.
Yeah.
Per gig. So, people can make how many is it? You do 100 gigs a year, let's say. I mean, that's in a different COVID time.
Yeah.
But let's say 100 gigs a year and you do 10 tracks of yours.
Yeah.
What is that? $1,000 that could come from that.
Yeah. Well, like I said, Glenn was very good at that back in the day when he was still in the band. And then when he left, it kind of faded away.
Yeah.
But one of the issues that we ran into some of the times, almost half the times, I would say, is the venues wouldn't sign that form. The venue needs to sign that form off.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. They're changing. Well, thank goodness,
it's just
because
all
that's why the venues would go, well, we don't actually have a SAMRO license. We don't want to, sign it, and then we've got record of us, and we don't have one. And then they're going to come and tell us we need to pay and all that. I mean,
that is the truth. And in fact, that had stopped me from filling in those forms, not because of the venues not signing, but because I was nervous that the venues didn't have a license, and I didn't want the venues to be shut down, because then we would have less places to play.
Exactly.
But it's important that everyone has a SAMRO license
of course.
anyway.
Yeah. If everybody was playing the game, it would be the perfect system.
Yeah. So COVID came and changed the game. Have you noticed the silver linings yet?
Again, like I say, the streaming side of things has been a silver lining in a different way than maybe what you're thinking of. As a booking agent, I book quite a lot of bands and artists around different venues and pubs and private functions and that kind of thing. And the most powerful way of me booking a band or an artist is for them to have a live video. And not many people have live videos, or certainly didn't before COVID hit. They'd either never think about it, or, they'd play a show and they wouldn't think about recording themselves live. Just wasn't done, But for me, booking a new artist at a new venue, it's the best way. Send it straight to the owner or whoever's running that venue. So this is what the band sounds like live, and they'll get a gig if they're good enough.
Yeah.
In the old days, the promoters and booking agents had to come to your gig. You just invite them to your gig and who's coming today? It's the guy from Roxy's. He's going to come watch our gig. Maybe he'll give us a slot.
Yeah.
Now you don't have to worry about any of that crap. And with the live streaming thing, because like I say, a lot of bands should be as best as they can by utilizing that, is that I've got that content of those artists to send immediately, So that's a big plus of what's happened,
Wow, I have totally not thought of it that way.
Yeah, it's great. Not a lot of people have, and that's why it still freaks me out. I book for maybe about 30 or 40 artists in total, and I don't know, I think 75% of them have never sent me videos of them performing live, but they've been playing for 7 years, And I constantly ask them, they're like, I want to get into this new venue that you're booking for. And I'm like, well, where's the video, man? Oh, yeah, we'll do it. We'll do it on Tuesday. My bassist is coming around. We'll do a video in our lounge. I'm like, cool, man, do it.
Yeah.
No, it didn't sound good enough for. I'm like, dude, don't overthink it. This is just pick your best song, play it live, send me 30 seconds. Done,
Yeah.
So at least like I say, when bands have done live streams, it's there available. I can just send the link directly to the owner, and it's great. you know. So more bands should be doing that. I don't know why, you know, cell phones are perfectly good enough to do a live stream on Facebook, especially if you're like a solo artist. Like it's, nobody's, you know, sending this to Netflix to be a TV series. It's not going to broadcast on a big screen in fucking Wembley Stadium or something. You know, it's like, just put it out there, man.
Totally.
It's there for you to do that, you know.
And if you want to up your game a little bit, a nice way is a little interface.
Sure, yeah.
To plug in to get the sound that you want on your voice.
Exactly. Yeah, but like I say, you know, even in terms of, you know, your average, normal, everyday, unknown little band in Springs, doesn't matter, man. Just put it out there.
A song that you wish you'd written.
Song that I wish I'd written. Where do I start? Probably Counting Crows around here.
Oh my gosh.
Jeez, that tune gets me. There's another band called Richmond Fontaine. This is kind of very, very obscure, unknown band who they broke up now, but I think they've got about 10 or 11 studio albums. You know, they've been recording since 96 or something. Also like alt country. Nobody knows who they are. Yeah. Nobody ever will. It's like the perfect alt country band. Hashtag goals, you know. Their last studio album is amazing. Okay. And I wish I could have written that whole album. You can't go back if there's nothing to go back to. It's a very depressing, the guy, William Lawton, is like an amazing storyteller as well. Fantastic songwriter. Very, very good at writing depressing, slow country songs that make you question your own reality. So that whole album, I think I wish I could have written because I'm like obsessed with it. Can't play it enough.
Wonderful. And wishlist collaboration?
You?
Yes.
Definitely Laurie Levine. I've always wanted to do a song with Laurie, and we'll get that right one day, whether she likes it or not. But she'll like it. But I've been bugging her for years, and she's just like, yeah, man, let's do it. Send me the track. Let's do it. One of the new tracks of the Crystal Park album, I have an idea for having her on. No idea if it'll work or not, but isn't that part of the collaboration, Joel, you know?
Yeah.
I just love her voice, and I've just always loved her voice, and to be able to sing with her on a track, I think that would be great.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Advice for other indie artists to keep them keeping on?
I don't know. It's hard to give advice. I was listening to some of your other podcasts, and I think Andrea was like, I don't give advice. I was like, yeah. I think that's the thing. It's just kind of finding your thing and just doing it. Realizing why you do music, you know?
Yeah.
That doesn't have to be answered immediately. That's part of your journey. You know, some people find out after 10 years, like, oh, hang on a minute, I'm actually good at organizing samurai rights for a band, you know? Let me do that. You know, and that's okay if you don't know where your journey is. But, I mean, you just keep doing it, you know? Don't let anything get in your way, because in this day and age, nothing is in your way, you know? Don't worry if the sound is a little bit bad, man. Just play. Don't worry if your track didn't get onto radio. It doesn't matter. Just write another one.
Yeah.
Send it to another station. There's thousands and millions of stations around the world that'll play your song, you know? Somebody out there is going to think it's amazing. Don't know if that helps.
That does. That's wonderful. How can people get in touch with you?
Email me, steve.east@rockfordmedia.com is the best way. My company, Rockford Media, is on Facebook and Instagram. Crystal Park as a band is also obviously on Facebook and Instagram. And our website is crystalpark.coza, which needs to be updated, but
it's there.
We'll get there.
Yay. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I hope this is usable content, you know.
There's a hell of a lot of usable content. Thank you.
Cool, man. Thank you.
If you are an independent artist whose passion for what you do can inspire or fuel others, get in touch. I'd love to chat. You can find me on shotguntory.com.
There's a voice.
You've been listening to another production from Solid Gold Podcasts.
Down the road, that's where I'll always be. Oh, every stop I make a new friend. Can't stay for long, just turn around and I'm gone again. Maybe tomorrow I'll wanna settle down. Until tomorrow I'll just keep moving on. Down this road that never seems to end. New adventure lies just around the bend. So if you wanna join me for a while, just grab your hat, we'll travel light, that's hobo style. Maybe tomorrow I'll wanna settle down. Until tomorrow, the whole world is my home. There's a world that's waiting to unfold. Brand new tale no one has ever told. We journeyed far, but you know it won't be long. We're almost there, we paid our fare with this hobo song. Maybe tomorrow I'll find what I call home. Until tomorrow, you know I'm free to roam. So if you wanna join me for a while, just grab your hat, we'll travel light, that's old style. Maybe tomorrow I'll wanna settle down. Until tomorrow